All right, this is Brad, and as promised, we're going to take a look at a very popular and very widely known file backup application. As you can see, upon initial login to my interface, and I'm looking at this as if I am a customer, what you can see here is it brings me first to the page where it shows my dashboard. It shows me, of course, who I am. It shows me as well my usage, both current and over time. What we're looking at here is the management dashboard that shows a little bit more detail in terms of my account. And so up here you can see that my account information is shown to include my contact info. We have a couple options at the screen here, and you have the ability to either add an additional computer to your protection, or down here you can also see that here are your existing machines that you're backing up. Next thing we'll take a look at is the options that actually exist down at the machine level. So what we're looking at here is an individual machine. And so you can see that the backup agent is currently connected. You can see the name of the machine and basically some additional information about it there. And the first tab we'll take a look at here is basically where it'll show you all of the activity for the past several days and weeks for that existing machine. You can see backup successes, backup failures, and also you can see when retention will run. You'll see delete here. And so this gives you a very, very high level overview of what actually has been happening with this machine for as long as the application's been installed. Next thing we'll take a look at is what exists on the settings tab. What we're looking at here are some preferences in regard to this particular machine. You can see how many files you can work on concurrently. If you work on a smaller number of files, of course, it might move quicker. But overall, if you allow it to work on multiple files, then you can obviously get it done more rapidly. You can see for files that are missed the first time through, you can submit how many times it will retry that file. Here are some exclusions. Let's say that you don't want to back up anything that is an image file or a media file of some sort. You can put some you can put some wildcards in here to tell it to not back up specific groups of items. And then here you can see here's where you run retention. And so in fact, if you were to delete a file, let's say, or if in fact you have something that you have multiple generations of a file backed up, here's where you basically tell it how to handle those cases. Next we'll look at the preferences on some additional preferences, I should say. So what we're looking at now is again some additional preferences for the particular machine. Here is basically the folder on the local machine where all the backup churn happens and where it tries to figure out what exactly it's going to transmit off-site and what files have been changed and things like that. There's the path. This particular application has a local vault option, so in addition to sending something off-site, you can actually protect it like on-site as well, which is a good option to have. And then here's you can see the last couple things. Bandwidth throttling, if in fact you don't want this thing to use all of the bandwidth that exists at your particular site, or let's pretend that you don't want them to hog the bandwidth wherever they are, then you can basically submit some sort of bandwidth throttling through this setting here. And then of course the last thing is to upload the logs or not. I will show you in a moment how that's useful when you do select to upload the logs. The setting we just looked at a moment ago about whether to upload the logs for viewing or not, that really drives this first graph that we looked at here about the activity for the particular machine. So you can see here that all of these things are backing up successfully, not showing any errors. However, if in fact you were to have an error about a particular file, about a particular group of files or something like that, then what uploading those logs will allow you to do is, without going down and having to take over the machine itself and dig into the application on the machine, it allows you to basically look at those logs up here in the backup application interface, which is very, very useful, especially when you're managing a large number of applications or a large number of machines as well. Next thing we'll look at is the backup tab itself. All right, so what we're looking at now is the backup tab for this particular machine. You can see you have a couple of options here. You can see you can add an additional backup set, or you can take a look at your existing backup sets. The first thing we'll look at is adding a new backup set to show you how easy this wizard is. What we're looking at here is how to create a new backup set. This thing is wizard driven, and so it is extremely intuitive and extremely easy to follow. So on the left hand side here you can see that you basically are choosing what you want to do initially. You can back up only files and folders. You can back up SQL, because this particular machine has a SQL database on it. You can back up virtual machines as well, basically from the physical host that's hosting the VMs. And we already have a system state backup for this particular machine, or you'd actually see that you can configure a system state. Other options that exist over here are Exchange type of backups. If this happens to be an Exchange server, it's very intelligent as it understands what exactly you're trying to back up and what machine it's actually on and what it can discover. So basically these options will either be there or not, depending upon the machine that you're backing up. So you can see here, let's just give this backup set a silly name. Backup set 3 is fine. And I'm going to show you the options that exist when you dive down into the backup set itself. So what we're looking at now is we've selected files and folders as a backup. So here's your machine, and basically what we're going to do is we are going to just drill down into exactly the items that we want to back up. So you can either select an entire drive. You could simply select the drive itself and it will show you all of the directories that exist on here. And in the same manner, you can select one specific folder, or you can just continue to drill down and select a specific folder, another specific folder, and then capture one particular file. It's as simple as that. So depending upon what you want to back up, you simply choose what it is you want to back up, again, whether it is a specific folder or a group of folders. I'll grab this whole desktop here and we'll go to the next section, which will be the scheduling. So what we're looking at now is the scheduling of the backups. You can see up here, just at a very high level, you can run this backup on a schedule, or you can continuously scan for new files at various intervals. Let's pretend that we are backing this up on a specific schedule, just for simplicity. You can see here that it already has given you a default schedule. So you can either double click on this and open it up, or you can simply click and drag that I want to start it at 5 p.m. and I want to allow it to finish. Let's pretend though as well that you want to only let it run between 5 and midnight if for whatever reason. Then you can do that as well. You could, again, the setting here, allow to finish, you can also modify that to be, basically have a hard stop at a specific time. So many applications nowadays are actually open file aware, and so you really don't have to worry about the hard start and stop. But then again, there may be specific applications or specific business uses that you don't want this thing to run past a certain time or want it to begin before a specific time. So a lot of options exist in regard to, again, when you want to run this and how you want to schedule it. Now what we're looking at is basically the fruit of all of our labor setting up this backup set, and it will simply tell you of the selections you've made, that's going to consist of 86 files, and there's basically the size that you're talking about. And it will tell you, hey, this is what schedule we decided upon, and then here's archiving. So really all you have to do now is click create here, and it will create the backup set. So what we're looking at now is we are back to the backup tab, which will show you all of your existing backup sets. What you're seeing here is the name of the backup set. You're seeing the next time that this backup is scheduled to run. Whether it's manual or automatic, that's extremely important. If you want something to run on a schedule, or if you only want to run it on an ad hoc or as needed basis, you can change that setting here. And then here's of course where you can go back to looking at the options when you created this backup set, or you can simply delete this entire backup set, or here's where you can, even though it may be scheduled on an automated fashion, here's where you can actually run it manually. So what we're looking at now is the Restore tab. You can see that we have not restored anything in the past week on this particular machine, although all history will be kept here. So what we're doing is we're going to start a restore, and I'll just simply show you the process. So here's the Restore wizard. That's what we're looking at right now. You can see that there are a tremendous amount of items that we are available for restore. As this machine is backing up system state, you can see that we can select any one of these system states. So whether you need to make an adjustment to an existing machine, or if in fact you were having to recover from some sort of event, obviously the system state is going to be extremely important for you to dump back to that new machine. In this particular case, let's take a look at the files and folders that exist. So if in fact we wanted to just restore a single file, or a group of files that somebody deleted, this process is going to look exactly the same as how you set up the backup set itself. So you can select file and folders, whether you want the entire drive or just part of it. Couple pieces of information here that we could restore. And so we could pretend that we are just wanting to select one particular file. So the last thing you choose is where you're going to restore this to, whether the original location or an alternate one. And then you can see here that here are some exception handling. Do you want to restore permissions or not? Other items here. And as far as existing files, if in fact it runs over to the same file with the same name or something, if there's conflicts there, you have options here on how to handle that. And really, from here, it's as simple as selecting next and confirming the restore. That concludes that piece of it. So what we're looking at now, we're back at the dashboard, and as you can see here, there are a couple of other options that exist, none of which are really earth-shattering, but I will cover them very briefly. There's some reporting from a customer standpoint that they can go in, and you can look at what exactly is happening with your account, your data, things of that nature. You can download new installers, and so if in fact I want to install a brand new machine, I can come here and as a self-service option, I can download new installers to install on new machines, and of course, information support. The intention of going through this interface here was to basically show you, first of all, how intuitive this is, how user-friendly, but how powerful it is as well. And so you can see that even though this machine may be at a client location, that this data is off-site, it's encrypted, it is protected, and it gives you numerous restore options in the event of any sort of disaster, but it also gives you flexibility in terms of where you can access this and see where this is happening from one central console. The next thing we do want to look at, though, is if in fact a client was looking to partner with a managed service provider and ask them to assist with backups, how this same application can actually be utilized to help them, as in their partner, to basically look at all customers that have under ownership or protection. And that is extremely powerful from a client standpoint, but also from a provider standpoint. So that's what we'll take a look at next.